Hey everybody, how's it going? Doug here, one of the hosts, producers, and creators of the Genre of Your Life podcast, bringing you all a review roundup episode this week. No full episode of the Genre of Your Life podcast this week. Nick was traveling, had a busy work schedule, but have no fear, the boys and I will be back next week with a full episode of the podcast for you all. Hopefully we can play a game or do another tier list ranking. We're still kind of working that out. I mean, I know our games were definitely a big hit, as well as our first ever ranking, our tier list we did with Matthew Vaughn films last week. So look out for that. It's going to be a fun episode. But in the meantime, I had this review roundup episode for you guys. I have a very special one for you all. I'm reviewing Poor Things, as well as the new horror romance comedy Lisa Frankenstein, starring Catherine Noon and Cole Sprouse, written by the great Diablo Cody. I am stoked to review both these for you all this week. So strap in and enjoy the show. But as always, guys, please review, rate, subscribe, follow, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. Please review, please rate. It means the world to us. We want to hear from you guys. Feedback, both positive, negative, neutral. Hey, we don't mind. We want to hear from you guys. Are you liking this show? What do you want to see more of? Are there certain shows, certain movies that we're neglecting? Let us know. That's what we're here for. We want to hear from you all in the comments. So please review, rate, share us with your family, your friends, your fellow podcast fans. And as always, guys, thank you so much for the ongoing support. It does truly mean the world to us. Alrighty, guys. Like I said, I have two movies to review for you guys this week. I'm supposed to have my lovely girlfriend Zeta Solzer on the show, but again, work schedules, we all get busy, work gets in the way. But she went with me to the press screening of Lisa Frankenstein as well. We saw Poor Things the other day, and Poor Things isn't really quote unquote new, but our theater in the neck of the woods here in AZ finally got it. It was kind of like more limited release out here, but our theater finally got it. We were stoked to see this movie. I was hearing great things about it. I'm not a big Yorgos Lanthimos fan, but I'm a big Emma Stone fan. I was hearing great things about it. I wanted to see it before the Oscars. As you heard my probably recap the Oscar nominations in the last Producers Playbill episode, I was talking about I wanted to see it before the big day, before the Academy Awards, so got to see it finally. So you know what? Let's start off with Poor Things, shall we? Like I said, Yorgos Lanthimos and I'm not the biggest fan of him as a filmmaker. I mean, rightfully so. I've only seen The Favorite. I've seen parts of Killing of a Sacred Deer, I want to say. Heard The Lobster is very weird, but more of an acquired taste, which I'm hearing a lot about most of his filmography in his catalog, that a lot of his films are more of an acquired taste. It's not for everybody, but if you like him, you really like him. You don't like him, you really don't like them at all. And I saw The Favorite when I was doing my semester abroad in London, because I was hearing great things about it. Again, I'm a huge Emma Stone fan. I like Nicholas Hoult a lot. I knew Olivia Colman a little bit from Hot Fuzz, funny enough. I was hearing like rave things about it, how this movie is amazing, whatever. And you know what? It was pretty good. Did I love it? No, but I thought it was shot real well. I thought Emma Stone, it was phenomenal. I thought Olivia Colman was phenomenal. I thought Rachel Weisz was fantastic. So a lot of great things about it. Again, the aspect ratio, the cinematography, the score with costume design, production design was outstanding. But I don't really love it. But I do want to go back and watch The Lobster and maybe revisit Killing of the Sacred Deer, because I've seen clips and parts of it, so I have a lot on my plate when it comes to doing Yorgos Lanthimos' homework. But the trailers for this didn't really sell me either. I remember seeing a lot of them before seeing the creator back in September, seeing a lot of teasers for it on TikTok and YouTube and Amazon, and I was like, looks interesting, looks very kind of like a period piece, but like a little twist to kind of like the fantasy element to it. And you know what? This is a very good movie. Did I love it? No. I think it's very well. I think it's made very well. I think the cinematography by Robbie Ryan is incredible. I thought this movie is beautifully shot. Its cinematography, the production design is phenomenal. But you'll probably hear me say this a lot on this tonight's podcast, on this episode, is that the costume design in this is incredible. Everyone from Emma Stone to Mark Ruffalo to Gerard Carmichael to Rami Youssef to Willem Dafoe, like the costumes in this are just beautifully crafted. It definitely adds a lot to the fantasy element, but definitely gives it more of a period, kind of British English proper to it as well, but mixed with kind of very rock and roll for the time period. But because we don't really know when the movie takes place, and also forgive me. Basically, Poor Things is about a lady named Bella, played by the great Emma Stone, Academy Award-winning Emma Stone, that is. And basically, she's kind of like a Frankenstein-esque monster created by a great Willem Dafoe. And I don't want to say too much. I think you should go in blind, but basically, it's about the incredible tale about the fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by the brilliant and unorthodox scientist, Dr. Goodwin Baxter, played by Willem Dafoe. So it's definitely a Frankenstein. This movie, Frankenstein, very kind of like reanimated kind of movie, and I'm gonna keep this non-spoiler, even though it's been out for a couple of months. I want to keep it on the down low with spoilers, but I think you should see this movie no matter what. See this movie if you want to see this movie no matter what. Definitely go in blind. It's definitely like Tim Burton-esque, very Guillermo del Toro a lot inspired, as well with a hint of like the Wachowski sisters, like Matrix and with all the movies, V for Vendetta, but not as violent, obviously, but like that kind of vibe at times, like very Matrix-y at times. And like I said, not being a Yorgos Lanthimos fan, I think he really did a great job directing this movie. I think his direction is very strong. How do I think it's best picture worthy, best director worthy? Not really, but there's a lot of great things to say about it. Like he knows how to like direct Emma Stone, given now they work together on The Favorite. They have a great working relationship together. I think she knows how to take his direction very wisely, but also kind of bring something very new and unique to it. Both Zayda and I said that of the movie too. This movie is very unique. It's very unique. It's definitely it's original, but it's based off an IP, based off a book called Poor Things. But it's definitely unique. I haven't seen a movie like this in a long time where I was like, huh, you know what? Yeah, it's when you see a movie this unique and this kind of just like, huh. It's very artsy. It's very ambitious too. I'll say that. I've been saying that word a lot this past year on the podcast, ambitious, and I definitely admire a lot of filmmakers taking ambitious directions in terms of storytelling and their filmmaking and their styles. And this is definitely an ambitious film, and I think a lot of people are responding to that because of how unique it is. But again, it takes a lot of risks in terms of what they're showing, what they want to accomplish. And I'll tell you what, this movie definitely has a very, 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 very hard R rating. There's a lot of sex, there's a lot of foul language, a lot of innuendos, a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting kind of in your face kind of graphic scenery and imagery. So if this is not definitely a movie that you would see with your family or little ones, we walked in, there was a family in front of us, and I was like, it's gonna be an interesting family movie night for them. And then sure enough, a mother and like I would say maybe boy that was maybe 10 or less walked in, and given what I've heard from the movie from Moses and my friend Isaiah and from a lot of their fellow colleagues and coworkers and friends and other critics, is that this movie definitely has a lot of sex in it, and they were not kidding. So if this movie's free, if that's what your family's into, hey, by all means, go crazy. It's a great family movie, but just be aware that there's definitely a lot of sex, a lot of nudity in this movie throughout the entire runtime. But Emma Stone is phenomenal in this. Emma Stone really, she's one of my favorite actresses of all time. I mean, from Easy A to Zombieland to Superbad to La La Land to Birdman, like she's a really incredible actress, and this evolution of her is just so astounding because I think continues to evolve as an actor more and more with her roles. I think she was again flawless in La La Land. Again, she's great. I mean, I love her in Easy A. I think probably my favorite movie of hers as a lead. But she can do comedy, she can do drama, she can do action, she can do musicals, she can do everything. And this is a lot to ask of her because not even doing the full frontal nudity, but like who she's playing. She's playing this character that is learning as she's going, and her mannerisms, the way she talks, the way she approaches life, the way she sees life. It's childlike, but you see the progression of her as the movie goes on, of her kind of like learning more, understanding more, and kind of understanding what the world is and how cruel it is, the beauties of it, but also understanding who she is as a person too. I thought that within the 2.5 hour runtime is that Yorgos Lanthimos's direction and her performance really showed that, like her progression of how she's becoming a real human in a way, a human, but like being brought back from the dead. It's showing her arc of like, wow, like where she started from to where she ended. And I thought that Emma Stone really is the heart and soul of this movie. But again, I have to give credit where credit is due, is that Yorgos definitely knows how to direct her in such a really beautiful way, but also this very unique way. Because again, I think not every director knows how to I don't think every filmmaker would know how to do this the way he did, and that's saying something as not someone not being a fan of his, not being too familiar with his work other than The Favorite. So I have to give a lot of credit to that. But she really is the heart of the soul into this movie. But everyone from Willem Dafoe, Rami Youssef, Mark Ruffalo, Gerard Carmichael, like everyone is acting their ass off. Like no one's phoning it in. It's really one of those great performances. But I will say though, Mark Ruffalo's getting a lot of buzz for his performance. I'm a big Mark Ruffalo fan. I think he's great as the Hulk. 13 going on 30. List goes on and on. The one with just like Heaven with him and Reese Witherspoon. Again, great actor. I do not think he's best actor worthy as a winner or nomination. And you'll hear me out. I said the same thing with Leo DiCaprio. I've seen both of these actors have fantastic performances, but I didn't really care for his character. I don't think he's not likable at all. He's not likable at all. He's a schmuck. He's definitely a grade A asshole. He uses poor Emma Stone, poor Bella throughout the movie, and every time they're together, you kind of just like, this dude sucks. Like he's just an asshole. He's literally a piece of shit. Like just get off the screen. And again, Mark Ruffalo plays that really well. I'll give him that. However, but I thought his accent, he's doing this kind of like weird. I don't even know, like it's English, but also it's European, and a lot of the actors in this are American, having really Scottish, Irish, English accents, minus Gerard Carmichael, who's doing an American accent. But I don't think Mark Ruffalo's accent is very strong or good. It's definitely parody at times. I'm like, oh no, whether it's dialect coach didn't work with him well enough on that, or he just didn't know how to really capture the essence of who he was playing in terms of the accent and where the character is coming from. But his accent is very kind of questionable at times. I was like, oh man. But yeah, I just don't think anything was special about it. I don't think it's definitely getting a lot of praise and hype. I've seen better performances from the actors this year personally, and I've seen better performances from him personally as an actor. So I thought it was one of the weakest parts of the movie personally. And with that said, I do think one of the weakest parts of the movie for me was the runtime. It's 2.5 hours. You definitely feel a drag on a little bit. I would say definitely you feel it definitely towards maybe the middle to the end where you're like, oh, we still have another 30 minutes of this movie left. Okay, where are we going with this? And it didn't really bother me to a degree of like, oh my gosh, we get it on with it. But you definitely felt the runtime towards the middle to the end. You're like, okay, I see where we're going, but like a lot of dragging out scenes, a lot of like kind of like in scene exposition and more depth of like certain longer dialogue scenes where I was like, oh, okay, but let's get on with it a little bit. So I do think it's a little long, and I think if you cut up maybe 15-20 minutes of the movie, I think it'll be a quicker runtime. But again, it's more of a nitpick, but I definitely have noticed that a lot more in certain movies where like a lot of things are dragged on just because look how beautiful this movie is shot. Look at this direction. It's like, yeah, it's a little pretentious. So that's my opinion, my hot take. But again, I'm not familiar with his show, but Rami Youssef in this really is charming. Yeah, he plays Bella's kind of first love interest, kind of brought into this situation by Willem Dafoe's character, Dr. Baxter. And Rami Youssef he's very this boyish charm. He's very charming. He's very he's very lovable. He's very likable. Like he's a good heart. He means well, and you root for him a lot because throughout the movie while Bella goes on this journey with Mark Ruffalo's character, Rami Youssef stays back with Willem Dafoe, and they kind of have a bond together. He's kind of like prodigy in a way, and I love the relationship between Willem Dafoe's character, Rami Youssef's character, because you can see it progress as well the same way that Emma Stone as Bella is progressing. I probably should know their character's name by now, but other than Dr. Baxter by Willem Dafoe, Max McCandless Rami Youssef plays, and I really do think that one thing that stuck out with me a lot was the chemistry between Willem Dafoe and Rami Youssef, and basically like how Willem Dafoe kind of takes him under his wing and kind of just like cares for him, because while Bella's gone, Bella's kind of like a daughter to Willem Dafoe, to Dr. Baxter, and it's definitely like kind of like father-son, but like mentor and student kind of relationship. I love that. I thought when they were on screen together, it worked. A lot of funny moments, a lot of heartfelt moments, and to me, seeing them on screen together was very charming. I would love to see them do another project together, whether it's like a fantasy or a drama or whatever. But it definitely works. And one thing I will say too, as someone who I'm a huge fan of Gerard Carmichael, I think he's one of the funniest stand-ups ever. He's a great actor. You definitely should watch his show called The Carmichael Show that came out a couple years ago on Hulu and a Peacock. It's a really funny show, very kind of like modern day sitcom, but has a lot of funny jokes, a lot of heart to it. And I've been watching him since I saw him in Neighbors back in 10 years ago, which is hard to believe, back in 2014. But definitely watch his specials on HBO. They're very he's very quick and he's very funny, but he's a great storyteller. And when I heard he was in this movie, I was like, great, I love him as a comedian. I think he's a great actor. I thought he was definitely underutilized, unfortunately. But when he's on screen, though, he has some of the best dialogue, some of the best character moments, and I loved his interaction with Emma Stone because the point where they meet is definitely kind of like the middle to like mid-second act to almost the beginning of the third act kind of turning point for Emma Stone's character and what's going to happen next. I just love their interaction. I love like their dialogue together. And like I said, how I felt about the chemistry between Rami Youssef and Willem Dafoe, the chemistry between Emma Stone and Gerard Carmichael was fantastic. I wanted to see a lot more of it. And when the movie ended, I was like, oh, I wanted more Gerard. I wanted more of his character. I wanted more of seeing what happened with him after certain things. And yeah, Harry Astley, Gerard Carmichael plays, and I really wanted to see more of them together because the small amount of time they were on screen together was just so charming and very lovable, and they really played well off each other. So disappointed that he wasn't in more of it, but when he was in, he definitely stole the show. Definitely has some of the funniest dialogue, some of the funniest scenes too. So again, definitely, I love seeing Gerard Carmichael in more things, but I love seeing comedians like Rami Youssef and Gerard Carmichael kind of just like really kind of take a turn to more dramatic movies like this, but also bring in their comedic chops to it as well. But yeah, it's definitely this to me. However, why I didn't love it as much, I think it was a little overhyped for me, minus the runtime, also minus not really caring for Mark Ruffalo as much. I don't know. It was a little too weird for me at times. I will say, like I was like, okay, it's definitely out there. Definitely, again, it's very like very ambitious. It's very like in your face in terms of kind of like what they were showing, what they were going for, but it didn't click the way I wanted it to. I think a lot of people are saying this is the best movie ever. This is a masterpiece. I think it's a very good movie, but I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. I wouldn't call it the best thing I've seen in a long time, but it is a very good movie. I think I went in with like somewhat expectations, hearing it from my friends and colleagues that love this movie. So I was definitely more excited than I was, even watching the trailers. And I felt the same way with the Iron Claw. As you probably heard me on my review, is that the Iron Claw to me, I was like, I don't want to see this movie. This is going to be like a snooze fest. I don't care about wrestling. And I was proven wrong. And I think in this too, I was also kind of proven wrong too, because again, the trailers did not sell me, the marketing did not sell me whatsoever. It was more word of mouth, hearing it from friends and colleagues. So I'm glad I saw it, but I didn't love it. I think there's some story elements didn't really work for me. I think the beginning definitely drags a bit too, where they're establishing things, but like the way they kind of establish is kind of all over the place. First 20 minutes, I was like, I don't know if I'm on board with this yet, but after 20 minutes, after 30 minutes, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely interested whatsoever. But I think the pace kind of bothered me to a point where I was like, okay, it's good, but it's a little slow. But I do think it's definitely a movie worth seeing in theaters if you're intrigued by it. I'm not raving about it, but it's definitely, I do like seeing quote unquote indie. This is lower budget Fox Searchlight, which is Searchlight now. It was Fox Searchlight back in the day. Now Searchlight once Disney bought them, but it's definitely the lower budget, lower indie films of the Disney Fox umbrella. But I would give this honestly a really solid 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's definitely in your face in terms of the sex and some of the violence and some of kind of just like the nature of the movie. But Emma Stone really is remarkable on this. I do still think I kind of favor with Lily Gladstone for her performance in Killers of the Flower Moon. It was funny. I kind of had the same feeling with this and Killers of the Flower Moon of like I walked out saying, it was good. I didn't love that. I didn't think it was a masterpiece the way that people are kind of making out to be. But I think I might have liked watching Poor Things more than Killers of the Flower Moon. But also, like I said, my Killers of the Flower Moon experience wasn't the best because the theater I was in, the audience, the crowd I was with was definitely not respectful. So I probably have to watch Killers of the Flower Moon again just to get another appreciation for, or just give another try. But I think I felt a little bit more lean towards more positive on Poor Things and Killers. But still, if you do like really kind of like fantasy, weird, just science fiction-esque monster kind of movies, this is for you. But it definitely felt like Tim Burton and Tim Burton films with a mix of Guillermo del Toro films, without a doubt. So yeah, I'm giving this a solid 7 out of 10. I'm looking forward to seeing what it does at the Academy Awards, what's going to win, what's it going to take away, what's going to lose. But I think this movie has a lot of strong elements, aspects to it. I just didn't love it the way I wanted to love it compared to my other friends and colleagues. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Alrighty, guys. Next on the docket of this review roundup episode is Lisa Frankenstein, a movie that actually I've been quite excited for, given the great marketing, great trailers for it as well. Basically, Lisa Frankenstein, if you don't know what the movie is, it's a coming-of-age love story about a teenager and her crush, who happens to be a corpse. After a set of horrific circumstances that bring him back to life, the two embark on a journey to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts. This movie is really cute. It came out coming out at the right time. It's coming out Valentine's Day. It's definitely to me, the best way I could put this movie, if you heard my out of theater reaction or if you didn't, is that this movie is a blend of Heathers with a blend of Heathers and a mix of early Tim Burton films. Think like Edward Scissorhands. Like I saw a lot of Edward Scissorhands in this movie, and I saw a lot of Heathers in this. It's definitely a nice blend of comedy, horror, romance. I love when a movie can like kind of juggle different genres in one and make it kind of feel fresh and kind of unique. And I thought the movie did a good job of kind of like having the jokes. Like our audience that we saw with were laughing hysterically, a lot of like clapping, a lot of laugh out loud, kind of like belly laughs. And I was like, oh, good. It's definitely fun to see a movie like this with an audience, with like people who love comedy and love good like horror comedy and romance movie. Like I said, definitely a fun day night movie. It's perfect for Valentine's Day. And despite what the critics are saying about Argyle, I think this would be a good double feature to see this and Argyle together, because they both kind of like have comedy, humor, action, romance, horror, whatever. But both movies really blend their genres really well. And, watching her since, I think, Paranormal Activity 4, is seeing how big of an actor she is now. Catherine Newton is a star. She plays the role, obviously, of Lisa Frankenstein. And Catherine does a phenomenal job of having this kind of charm, but kind of this witty, kind of goofy, kind of just like very kind of nerdy, like shy kind of a character. But there's so much charm to it. She brings a lot of laughs. She brings a lot of kind of like just a lot of human to it. And I thought that like it definitely reminded me of kind of like early John Hughes kind of characters, like Breakfast Club or 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. You can tell like she's kind of mimicking or kind of just like taking inspiration from some of those characters in those movies. I'm sorry, her name is Lisa, but she goes by Lisa Frankenstein. When you see the movie, you'll understand. But really, it's definitely heavily inspired by Heathers, John Hughes movies, and a lot of Tim Burton. Like I said, Edward Scissorhands. And what, to me, like I said, how I felt about Poor Things is that, this movie has a solid pace. I thought it moved really quick. I thought it was an hour, 40 minutes. You don't feel the run time. You don't only kind of feel like, all right, it's drag on a little bit. You definitely feel the nice rhythm it has to it. And, both these movies that I saw have a mix of black and white scenes and color, and obviously movies in color, scenes in color. And I do think that both movies definitely utilize the black and white scenes very well. However, I think Lisa Frankenstein had a better use of their black and white scenes in certain cutaway scenes, and you'll see when you see the movie, you'll understand that. But in terms of utilization, I do think this movie has better black and white scenes. And one thing that I've been thinking about since I saw it back on Monday, again, it also says my out of theater reaction too. The 80s, it takes place in the 80s. A lot of films, a lot of shows take place, in this time period. This movie did not have an overload of 80s nostalgia. It didn't rely too heavy on it. We see it so much nowadays in Stranger Things and other shows and other movies and list goes on and on. It comes to a point where like, oh my gosh, a lot of Mike Flanagan's shows and movies take place in like the 80s or 70s and 90s, whatever. But 80s seems to be a really big, time period for a lot of shows and movies. this movie really does not rely on it. Doesn't like look hey guys, look at this poster, look at this haircut, look at this song, look at this poster, look at this VHS tape, like look at this kind of thing we had back then. It did not rely on that. It wasn't like a cheap gimmick. It felt modern for a movie set in the 80s, and I love that about it, where like it just, nostalgia is used as a tool now for like kind of like a cash grab, kind of like a gimmick or a gimme. No, and I thought that what they're able to do, incorporate the 80s, some of the style, some of the costumes, whatever. It did not feel like a gimmick. It felt really natural. It definitely had a modern tone to it. This is written by Diablo Cody, one of my favorite writers. She wrote stuff like Juno, Young Adult, which is very underrated. Her Tully's great. Also, Jennifer's Body is a big classic to my generation. Her script is very witty and fun, like most of her movies, like Juno and kind of Young Adult, and a little bit kind of Jennifer's Body. Like, there's definitely kind of wittiness, kind of like fun to be had, and a lot of funny kind of like insults or kind of like jabs at certain people or certain things, and it's fun. I think Diablo Cody definitely knows how to write young adolescents very well, but also knows how to kind of like make it feel mature and for real adults. With the 80s nostalgia, this movie has a great soundtrack. You know, we go to some of these screenings, they'll have like a DJ or have like an playlist playing before, and they're playing a lot of 80s hits or kind of like indie songs from the 80s at the screening. And I'll tell you what, it definitely set the mood, and I get a lot of props because they could have been playing like Drake or 21 Savage or The Killers or Lil Wayne or whatever, Imagine Dragons, but like they definitely, the DJ there was definitely playing 8 songs from this time period, and like I said, it definitely set the mood, the right mood that is. Again, did not rely too heavy on the soundtrack either. Like, in a lot of these shows and movies are set in this time period or set in a certain time period. The needle drop. Look, it's Kiss, or look, it's Guns N' Roses, or look, it's this song, or Huey Lewis in the News, or it's Run DMC, or whatever, or Cher. It's more of a gimmick, or like a kind of just like it's more of like, hey, we get it. It's this 80s, we understand, and a movie that I thought about this was a movie called Totally Killer that came out on Amazon Prime. It's a Blumhouse pick, kind of like Back to the Future, Halloween-esque on Prime. That movie had relied a lot, and I mean a lot, on nostalgia, where I was like, okay, we get it. We know what time period it is. Like, okay, what else can you show me with this? And that, to me, took a lot out of that movie. But with this, when the songs that they use, they work to serve the movie and serve the overall story. And I was like, you know what? Kudos to everyone involved, because I do feel like this could have gone like, oh, another 80s movie. We get it. Well, when will he learn? Why is Gen Z so obsessed with, this time period? Didn't feel that way whatsoever. And like I said before too, the production design, well, I'm noticing a lot more movies. I think it's an art, it's a craftsmanship. The production design of this is outstanding. And the cars, the house, like the interiors of the house and the stores and the parties, whatever, or the school, definitely focus features, kind of like the Searchlight of Focus features is definitely the more smaller brands of Universal, how Searchlight is to Fox and Disney. And for indie film like this, indie film, low budget film like this, it has great production design. But I'll tell you what, I said this before too, talk about this a lot tonight. Costume design. The costume design of this is fantastic. Felt very similar to Poor Things. The costumes are designed very masterfully, and all Catherine Noon Lisa's costumes, her wardrobe is fantastic. It's very Tim Burton. It's very John Hughes inspired, but they're so crafted so well. They're very iconic. I feel like if this movie kind of came out back in the 80s, when it takes place, a lot of people would probably wear some of her costume that she wore in the movie, because they felt very iconic for a movie set in the 80s, but again, had very modern to it. And I just kept thinking about how amazing her wardrobe is. It was very crafty. It was crafted very masterfully. They were designed beautifully, and I was like, wow. Whenever I see Catherine Noon in a new wardrobe, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is so great. So I definitely took a lot away from the costume design of this movie. I was like, wow, I'd give all the props to the wardrobe and costume team. Despite having no dialogue in the movie, which is a big selling point from his interviews and press, Cole Sprouse, from Zack and Cody, he also the twins from Big Daddy. Cole Sprouse, who plays the monster in this, and Catherine Noon, I thought had great chemistry. It was incredibly charming. They're a lot of fun to watch. Like I mentioned, their chemistry reminded me a lot of Winona Ryder and Christian Slater in terms of Heathers, or Tim Burton and Winona Ryder and Edward Scissorhands. But they were so much fun to watch. And he's for having no dialogue, he definitely offers a lot in terms of kind of like, physical humor and kind of like hand pointing, stuff like that, or some of the horrific things that happen from his character that he does, the actions. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely can see like the Christian Slater from Heathers in this movie for sure. But whenever they're on screen together, they brought a lot out of each other in terms of performances and just the vibe of the movie, and they were just so much fun to watch. And it was just enjoyable to see kind of just like two kind of very goofy, but whenever they were kind of doing something like they're kind of like their things or whatever trouble they were causing, it was just so fun. It was very like very young adolescent, very kind of like high school, and they both played off each other incredibly well. With that said, it's definitely this movie is not based on an IP that I know of, and I hope I'm corrected on that. And it's not. It definitely was original screenplay by Diablo Cody. It's refreshing to see an original movie, a genre movie like this, a horror comedy, in theaters with an audience who was really into it. They were laughing, they were clapping, they were having a good time with it. And I just really do admire the commitment from Universal and Focus Features for supporting films like this on the big screen at a wide release level. This could have been a Hulu movie. This could have been Amazon Prime or a Peacock original. But I really, really, really admire the fact that they believed in this movie to give it a full release around Valentine's Day, which is perfect to release this movie. You could have released it. You could have released it on Halloween too. It would have probably would have worked just as well, if not better. But I think releasing it on Valentine's Day is perfect. And I really hope people see this movie on the big screen for Valentine's Day. They do kind of like a double feature. Again, for me, double feature would be great if you do a double feature with this and Argyle, or like if it's warm by you, not as bad weather, like do a drive-in. This is like a perfect drive-in movie too. It's a great theater movie too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But like if you did a double feature at a drive-in like this and Argyle, that would be one of the best movie nights ever, in a long time, if you ask me. But really, with the holdovers and now this, I get a lot of props and I clap and applaud Universal and Focus Features for still believing in lower budget original filmmaking. Again, genre that is, with horror and comedy, because a lot of these movies are going to Netflix, they're going to Hulu, they're going to Peacock, they're going to whatever. But to me, this shows that their commitment to the big screen with movies like this. So please support original movies like this. I talk about this all the time on the podcast, all the review Roundup episodes. Support original filmmaking, support films like this, because one day we might not have these anymore, or they're going to be copy and paste movies like that we kind of see sometimes on streaming, like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Peacock, and or Hulu. It's just like, come on now. So and like I said too, seeing a movie like this with an audience, with a crowd that are laughing, cheering, it adds to the experience. And this and Argyle and the holdovers and whatever, I can safely say too that a lot of movies I've seen like this past year, the experience has definitely been elevated and more fun because of seeing with the crowd, seeing with people who are just into it. I love movies. So again, please support original filmmaking, support films like this on the big screen. It's very important to do that. And I thought a lot of the supporting cast added to the charm, including the stepsister Taffy, played by Liza Soberano. I liked her vibe a lot. And I like that, when you see movies, she plays a stepsister to Lisa, and a lot of movies, a lot of shows, like it's like the bitchy, mean stepsister, but they didn't go that route or that trope. Sorry, and it's like it's a stereotype that we've seen so many times of this, like, yeah, like you're my new stepsister, I hate you, I don't like you, we'll never be friends, and right away they go, nope, she loves Lisa, you're my sister. We're friends. I'm gonna look out for you. You're my family now, and you can feel the love she has for Lisa, despite Lisa not reciprocating that in the same way. But whenever she was on screen, like I liked seeing her because she was very funny. She was very goofy, very kind of 80s cheerleader vibe, kind of a trope to a degree. But I definitely like that. You can feel the love that she has for Lisa, and it didn't feel like it's done before. And from the school crush to the parents, to, the people that they worked with, people at the party. A lot of supporting, a lot of the extras added a lot to the vibe and kind of the spirit of the movie. And I'll end my pros on this. I really admire first-time filmmakers that make movies that don't feel like first-time filmmakers. And this is directed by Zelda Williams. This is her directorial debut. I am for sure looking forward to seeing what she does next as a filmmaker, because I was definitely impressed by her direction and her storytelling, and with her utilizing the Diablo Cody script very well to the fullest. Diablo Cody has been around a long time. She's an Oscar winner. She also produced the movie, so I bet you that she has some kind of involvement with the movie and the storytelling and direction outside of being just a writer and it as given a producer title. But really, this to me felt like someone made their third or fourth, fifth movie, whatever. It did not feel like a first-time filmmaker. I get a lot of props for her. But also, props to her for juggling the different genres, the romance aspect, the horror aspect to it, the drama aspect to it, the comedy aspect to it. Because I think a lot of first-time filmmakers definitely stick with one genre and they go with it, but not a lot. Also, I've seen a lot of first-time filmmakers that try to juggle different genres and end up failing, or end up not being, or not delivering, or giving a movie that you probably haven't seen from them again, or they go right to TV, or they just kind of quit the business, or they kind of go back to what they were before, whether it's key grip or second unit assistant director or whatever. Those are all great fields. I'm not poo-pooing those whatsoever, but it is very hard to juggle a movie like this with all the different genres and a script by an Oscar winner. I thought Zelda Williams did a really good job utilizing all of this. Like I said, I am looking forward to seeing her next film or her next project. But all good things must come to an end. And I do have some cons, unfortunately. I did have a problem with the pace. Not at all. But when it ended, I was kind of like, I could have used a couple of more minutes in certain areas, or more at the end. I was like, oh, okay, this is more of a nitpick, where I was like, okay. There's times where it kind of feels a little too short, where I was like, oh no, I want to see more of these things. I want to see more of this thing, or what they were doing with these things, or this thing. And I was like, oh, okay, they're playing this. Yeah, it's PG-13. They're playing the safe route. But I do think this movie could have used a couple of minutes to kind of like just polish some certain things. And one of those things, including, is, Carla Gugino, who I've loved since Entourage and Watchmen, and this goes on and on and on. She's great in the show The Fall of the House of Usher. Great actress. I think she was a bit wasted. She's talking about tropes and stereotypes. I think the mean stepmom is definitely been done with movies like this all the time, in terms of like the time period or the genre itself. It's been done 1,000 times, and she's playing like the I hate you, I'll never like you, you're my stepsister because I married your dad, I love your dad but I'll never love you, you'll never be my daughter. How I felt opposite with the sister Taffy, how like it's been the evil stepsister, the mean stepsister, that was avoided. But with this, I felt like it was a trope of like the evil, mean, bitchy stepmom that's like, oh, I hate you, you ruined my life, I'll never love you. It's like, okay, it's been done before, we get it. So I do think that could have been played by anyone. Carla Gugino, fantastic actress, but I do think she was wasted, or not given really a good role that she could have, developed, or make it more interesting. It kind of just felt very stereotypical, and a lot of her mannerisms and her dialogue didn't do anything for me. So I felt she was wasted. And I get that this movie is trying to be accessible to audiences of all ages, all age-wise, and kind of like demographics, but given that Diablo Cody has written some great rated R material, I kind of want to see rated R or an unrated cut. I felt the same way. If you heard our Argyle review, me and Nick both said that we love Matthew Vaughn. He's made some great rated R films. It would have been cool to see Argyle as a rated R film as well. This, I felt the same way, but I don't feel as strongly the way I did with Argyle. But I do think that at times I was like, it kind of feels like being a little held back from the PG-13 rating. But I get it. They want to market this movie to a really mass audience, to like tweens and teens. I want to see a movie like this on Valentine's Day during the season of love. So I get it. More of a nitpick, but I do kind of wish there was kind of more of an unrated cut, given Diablo Cody's her writing rated R films in the past. The dad, played by blanking on his name, he's been in so much stuff. He was in 21 Jump Street. I'm blanking on this guy's name, and I always do too. Joe Crest. Joe Crest. 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. He's also in Killers of the Flower Moon. He was in Ant-Man. He was in Red. He was in a lot of movies. He was in Where the Crawdads Sing, The Campaign. This guy's in a lot of movies. I'll tell you that. Guy's in a lot of movies. He's a working actor. I've seen him in so many things. If you saw his face, you're like, oh yeah, that's that guy. He definitely plays plays the dad in most of his thing or dad or uncle or father figure in most of his things that he's in. He didn't really add anything. He kind of felt pointless. Like some of his jokes were definitely funny, but not always. And speaking of the jokes, although I admire the humor a lot of this movie, there was a good period of time where the jokes were just not landing. I mean, it was like a couple minutes, maybe a little over 10, 15 minutes where I was like, yeah, I don't find that end this funny. And a lot of the audience they were so into it. They were clapping, having a good time with it. But there was definitely a nice period of time where I think myself and Zeta was next to me too, where I did not laugh for a while, or I was like, "Yay, I was liking it, but you're kind of losing me a little bit." And it's comedy is hard. I'm not denying that whatsoever. As someone who has written comedy in scripts and skits and sketches, someone who admires stand-up comedy, would never do it, but. It's tough. Comedy is tough in all terms of entertainment, writing, performing, whatever. But there was definitely a period where I was like, oh, don't make me hate this movie now because I haven't laughed in a while while the rest of the audience is laughing, having the time of their life. But it found its groove again for me, and I was laughing again. I was giggling. I was chuckling again. But I was worried for a second where I was like, oh no, did they do all the good jokes in the first half, the first 30 minutes or first 40 minutes? I was like, you had me, now you're losing me. But it found its groove again for me. But I had the docket for not being as consistent in terms of comedy and some of the jokes. But I still had a good time laughing out loud with it, with the audience, with people just happy to see a horror rom-com with drama in this. So I had a good time with it. Right now, it's not doing too well critic-wise either. I think it's in the 50%, which is not terrible, but if you listen to Rotten Tomatoes, it's rotten. So I would give this, honestly, I'm giving this between a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I'm definitely in the middle. It might go up. I definitely would watch it again. I think a lot of people are saying it's definitely a cult classic in the making, and I hope that's the case. But I will probably give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. I would definitely rate it fresh. And I would say go see it in theaters. Like I said, to me, the main takeaway is how great Catherine Newton is. It's, again, an original genre film that needs support in the box office, in the theatrical run. So definitely see it on the big screen. And repeating myself again and again, I think this is a great double feature with Argyle. If you have AMC A-List, you have Regal Unlimited, you go to a drive-in, or do the quote-unquote movie hop, the double feature, don't get caught, is definitely a good pairing with Argyle. Argyle's a good pairing with Lisa Frankenstein, because there's a lot of charm to this movie that is very attractive and very intriguing. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10 Again, I'm looking forward to watching it again. It's kind of like, I'll probably watch this again maybe like when it comes to like Halloween or Valentine's Day, because it definitely has a lot of great things going for it. Despite my little flaws with it, it's a fun time at the movies, and see with the audience, see with the crowd, because it will elevate your viewing experience. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for you all this week. Hope you enjoyed my takes and thoughts and rambles on these two movies that I do recommend seeing both in theaters. But yeah, I think this year is going to be a good year for theatrical experiences. I love the commitment I'm seeing from a lot of smaller studios, like a Searchlight or Focus Features, because I think a movie like this could have gotten lost within like the hundreds of streaming direct-to-video movies. But I think that right now it's filmmaking and movie going experience is a very critical time. I think Dune will have a big opening, have a big boost to the movie going experience, but it does break my heart that Argyle had a big flop, and I'll probably do a whole episode about that and my other thoughts of certain things in the movie, TV, entertainment world. But it's sad that movie flopped the way it did, and that movie had a really hefty price tag on it. So hope it has legs. Hope people discover it down the road or has a second life somewhere. But it's right now we definitely need to support movies in the big screen, because with streaming has definitely gone up a lot in terms of subscription prices, and how a lot of streaming services are pulling movies off of their platforms. So it's fun to escape to a movie like this, or a movie like Argyle, even Poor Things too, where you're in an auditorium with strangers and you're teleported to a different world or different time, and you're just in for the ride of it all. So definitely go out, local cinema, matinee, discount Tuesday, whatever. Get a Regal Limited pass, get an AMC A-List pass, because it's important to support movies like this on the big screen, and to support the theaters. Support your local theaters, because it's experience like no other. But as always, guys, hope you enjoy this review roundup episode, and we will always see you at the movies. See you guys. Peace.